Sal knows about Sharon?
Yes.
How?
She heard you talking on the telephone.
Oh, that explains it.
What?
All the attention. When exactly?
Oh, a week or so.
Why didn't she say something?
It's her way of coping. And she's not going to thank me for telling you, believe me. But I couldn't stand by and watch her go on pretending. She's in such a state. If she goes on bottling it up, who knows?
Yes. Well, what do you think?
Oh, that's up to you.
Face it out, I suppose, is the only way. It's not a casual thing, you know.
Oh?
Nothing like.
I see.
Well, otherwise there'd be no problem. Just be a question of saying sorry and hoping for forgiveness. But it's not like that. Not like that at all.
Look, maybe after all Sal's got the right idea. Now that you know she knows, perhaps it would be best if you just give it a little time and...
Hope it'll go away. There's no chance. There's no avoiding it. Look, I'd give anything to save Sal the hurt. We didn't look for this, you know. We both tried, Sharon especially, to stop it happening, but it was no use. It's funny, isn't it? I knew this moment would have to be faced. But having a card, I kept on putting it off, pretending it wouldn't happen. And now it has.
Clause 15, it deals with a penalty for breach of contract. You see the sum mentioned? Have you that much money?
But I'm not breaching contract. I simply agree with you that the contract should lapse by mutual consent.
But you haven't my agreement. Oh, one day I'll let you go, yes, but not before I've paid you back for every injury that you've ever done to me, my wife, my daughter. Break the contract, Paul, and I will break you. I will sue you over the penalty clause. I will throw 4 brilliant lawyers at you with instructions to beggar you for life. Can you afford the fee for even one hack to defend you?
Could you afford the disclosures I would make about you in court?
They would be irrelevant to an action concerned solely with breach of contract. You wouldn't be allowed to voice them. And simply by attempting to plead that you had reasons of your own to break the contract, you would establish the very point in question, namely, that you did break it. You would be bankrupted and without hope of gaining another position of trust. And if you then decided to libel me, my lawyers would sue you for that too, citing your palpable desire for vengeance, your malice, rooted in hate. Do you think you're the only pest I've ever had to squash in the courts of this land? Had labelled as a petty blackmailer, out for a fast buck?
Have you forgotten how many I helped you to squash?
It is my memory of your past services, Paul, that moves me to make sure of your future services.
To whom? To yourself or to your wife and daughter? I go to the police and tell them your wife wrote that poison pen letter which you and the sergeant covered up in criminal collusion. The sergeant for her material benefit and you because you couldn't face public ridicule. A millionaire whose wife and daughter had fought over his hireling, me. A millionaire who even then wished to retain the services of that hireling. For his material benefit or for the sexual benefit of his wife and daughter? Strange perversion, wouldn't you agree, the world would say. This world that thinks the worst of any man who has half the money you have.
Have you seen Mr. R? Just the man I'm looking for.
I'm looking for a waste paper basket.
Yes. Well, Colonel Chester is sulking in the dining room because you weren't there to greet him as usual at 7 o'clock.
It's not 7 yet.
Yeah, well, he sat himself down at the table and he's waiting for you to steer him through the menu. What was that?
The worst of my past.
Oh?
The contract I had by J. Henry, I'm no longer bound by it.
What, he sacked you?
No, we sacked one another.
Well, I don't know which one of you to congratulate more sincerely for being rid of the other.
You'd like to be free of me, too?
I would like you to remember that you still have a contract with this motel to run the dining room. Go and calm the Colonel down.
I shall, as the last of my gracious gestures before dashing off to Paris.
Hey, Paris? What? Do you mean that position that you mentioned to me last month?
Yes, executive position.
But you told me that that offer had fallen through.
No, I told you J. Henry had prevented me from accepting it. But now that I'm no longer in his power, all I have to worry about is David Hunter. So I'll pack my bags.
Yeah, well, David's not here.
Where is he?
Well, he's in London.
For how long? I have only 2 days to make up my mind.
Well, he's back in the morning.
1 day. Short, but it'll do.
What do you mean you're going?
It's best, Sal.
Don't be absurd.
Sal, listen.
Dinner's practically ready.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, I've never heard of anything so...
You and Oliver will need to talk.
Yes, Sal.
Let's all have a sherry. 10 more minutes. The joint will be perfect. Won't be long before the spring veggies in the shop now. Won't that be marvellous? Oh, Marian, you wouldn't do the Yorkshires for me. Yours always make mine look like bits of old leather.
I really am going, Sal.
No, listen.
I want her to.
Well, I don't. Marian!
It's between you two. I don't belong, honestly.
Sit down.
Do you want a sherry?
Sal.
Well, do you?
No, listen.
Isn't it absurd? I cook a dinner and nobody will eat it. I pour a sherry and nobody will drink it.
Sal, we must talk.
I really don't know what's the matter with her.
About Sharon.
I mean, just leaving like that, it is...
Now, we must talk now. Now, listen.
I don't want to hear it.
You've got to, Sal. We've got to face the truth.
Oh, Kath, they're lovely.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunter. Yes, I think I'm beginning to get the knack.
Yes, you certainly are.
Have you seen the dining room? I'm very pleased with the table in there.
Special occasion, then?
Yes, it is. It's a silver wedding anniversary. Party of 10 coming for lunch. It was Mr. Paul's idea, actually, to welcome them on their arrival.
Rather a happy thought, don't you think, Barbara? I mean, 25 years, a quarter of a century.
Quite an achievement. Strange. I never thought of you as being a sentimentalist.
Oh, one has one's moments, you know. There's something infinitely touching about domestic bliss. The lasting variety.
Just remember to invite you to our silver wedding.
Wherever I happen to be in the world, I shall drop everything and come running.
But it is rather marvellous to think that some couples do actually make it.
The lucky ones.
Oh, it's more than that, wouldn't you say? Forbearance, sympathy, loving kindness, all the old virtues that get trampled on the way to the bank. Yes, make it very special for them, will you? Champagne on the house, from David and me.
Certainly.
Anything urgent in this lot?
Only Paul Ross's resignation.
How did this happen? J. Henry?
I believe they did have an encounter.
First he sends Diane to Scotland, then Miranda to Italy. Now Paul to where?
Nowhere. He's released Paul from his personal contract. So now Paul wants you to release him from the motel contract so that he can swan off wherever he chooses.
Thank you for explaining. I let you know last month that I was considering an executive post in Paris.
You also let me know you would give me fair warning if you decided to accept. You call this fair warning 1 day.
Well, I was going to give you 2, but you were in London.
Oh, I take it from your casual attitude you intend to break your contract no matter what I say.
Not at all, not at all.
Under your contract, the motel is entitled to a month's notice. Where do you think I'm going to find a replacement for you in 1 day?
I am really very sorry that this is so sudden. But it was only yesterday that I managed to free myself from J. Henry. I had to do that first because he was blocking my Paris position, not the motel.
A month ago, when we discussed that position, you agreed to give me a chance to look at your contract, see if I could improve on it, compete with Paris.
And I remember being very careful not to give you the impression that I would give you a chance, David.
You won't stay at this motel at any price?
No, it's not the motel I quarrel with. It's J. Henry. But the motel and J. Henry seem to go hand in hand, don't they?
He has only a 10% interest in this company.
Yes, and 100% interest in doing me down.
Paul, David, Barbara and I could protect you from him. Have you considered that?
Deeply, Jill. And while I enjoy and somehow seem to deserve the protection of women, I find it self-diminishing to accept it from men.
You do understand. If the Paris people make any inquiries, I will have to tell them that you left us flat, showing yourself to be a person without the slightest regard for your employer's convenience.
That is why I'm not leaving here until you give me a suitable reference.
Do you think in all conscience I can do that?
No, not in conscience, but in friendship.
What?
Don't you realise that he's just paying you the biggest compliment he can think of? He has just said clearly and firmly that he's exactly where you've always wanted him to be, at your mercy.
True, and it's most humiliating.
Is that how you got away from J. Henry? By telling him you were at his mercy?
No, by telling him he was at mine.
Oh, what's this?
The reference he wanted. I saved you the trouble of dictating it.
May I see it before you sign it?
No. You may not. You will take what you are given. And think yourself lucky.
Thank you. And thank you.
Grateful, Mr. Ross?
He's leaving, and David is not insisting on a month's notice.
He's leaving?
Oh, come
I
in.
didn't know.
I'm sorry to disturb you, but...
Kath, come and sit down, Kath. You don't look at all well.
No, I feel awful. I don't know what's come over me all of a sudden. I was all right 10 minutes ago.
I'll get you a brandy.
No, it's all right, Mr. Hunter. I don't think I could manage it, actually. No, all I want, really, is just to go home.
Well, yes, of course.
Yes, I'll drive you home.
No, I wouldn't dream of it.
Look, I'll get you a taxi.
No, I can manage, really. I'll be all right. I'll just take it steady. A breath of fresh air might do me good. I'll get a bus from the village.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
Would you like Glenda to go with you?
There's no need for that. I mean, all of us off at the same time. No, all I want is a cup of tea, a couple of aspirin, and a couple of hours to put my feet up. I'll be fine.
A couple of hours, nothing. You'll take the rest of the day off at least.
Yeah, and if you're not better in the morning, you stay put and get in touch with the doctor.
Yes, I expect it's just the beginnings of a cold. You know, I'll nip it in the bud. I'll be fine.
You take care of yourself then, will you?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Hunter. I'll see you all tomorrow, if not before.
I don't understand it. Just now in the reception, when she was arranging a flower, she was perfectly all right. I think I'll have a word with Glenda. Not at all happy with her.
I hope it is just a cold.
Glenda, am I right in thinking it's your afternoon off?
Yes, Mrs. Hunter. But I don't expect I'll be leaving on time, not with this silver wedding do.
Yes, well, I think you should leave on time. I'll have a word with Mr. Paul. I think you should go straight home, too.
Why? What's happened?
Well, there's nothing to get alarmed about, don't worry. But your mother, she's not
Mum?
too well.
What's wrong with her?
Well, it's probably an ordinary cold, but with this flu about, I'd feel happier if you were back at home, keeping an eye on her. Make sure that she takes care of herself, you know?
Yes. Poor Mum. Oh, where is she? In the staff room?
No, she's gone home.
She must have been feeling rough. It's funny, she was fine this morning.
Yes, well, you know how quickly that nasty little bug strikes. We wanted to send her back in a taxi, but you know what she's like. She insisted on taking the bus. She wouldn't even let us send you back with her.
I bet.
So, might as well play it her way, everything normal. She'll be expecting you back at some point during the afternoon, so if you're back a little bit earlier, you can always say you struck lucky this once.
Thanks, Mrs. Hunter.
But if she's not better in the morning, don't waste time. It's the doctor and his magic pills, whatever she says, right?
Don't worry.
The hell did you have to tell him?
Because I've watched what's happening to you.
I was all right.
You weren't.
Compared with now, I was over the moon. I'll not forgive you for this.
Surely it's better if you...
Better? What the hell would you know about better? What the hell would you know about anything? I had to sit there and listen to him tell me terrible things. Stupid, senseless, disgusting, terrible things. He talked about love as if he'd just invented it, as if that could possibly apply to what they have together. And I had to sit there and listen to all that because of you.
I wanted to spare you any
Oh,
further...
that is laughable. Spare? You poured it on by the bucketful, that's what you did.
Do you think you could have gone on indefinitely, pretending it wasn't happening? Because that's what it would have meant, Sal. If you hadn't known, all right. But to know and to turn a blind eye, that's torture.
I could bear it.
No.
I could, and I did.
At what cost?
At the cost of keeping him. You take a hell of a lot on yourself, do you know that? Indefinitely, that's the word you used. You think this sordid little affair's going to drag on and on?
Oh, Sal,
You've only got to look at her. Anything in trousers and he has to be such a damn fool, but indefinitely, you have to be out of your mind. Oh, God. If we'd only kept it quiet for a month or so, weeks even, he'd have come to his senses and it'd been so much easier for him to drop it. But that's not good enough for you. You have to drag in honesty and truth as if they matter.
And what if they do? Will you refuse that as well? Will you refuse to see it? I was trying to cushion the fall, Sal, that's all. From what Oliver said, it's not going to blow over. Now, you're going to have to come to terms with that. I'm not talking about giving up. But this business of surrounding him with family and lavishing affection, it doesn't ring true. Not for him, believe me. So I would say the truth and honesty do belong. In fact, I'd say they were your only chance.
I had every right to do this my way, and you spoiled it. My life, my marriage, my kids. Don't you breathe a word of this to them, Marian, not one word. You've done enough already.
Mum?
I'm in here.
Why aren't you in bed?
Bed? Whatever for?
Well, that's where you should be with flu.
I haven't got the flu. I've just got the beginnings of a cold, that's all.
You wouldn't have asked to come home in the morning just for a cold.
Well, I was feeling a bit low. I'm better now.
Are you really?
Yes, nurse, I am. I've had a nice little nap and a couple of aspirins.
Well, you don't seem to have a temperature
Of
anyway.
course I haven't got a temperature. In fact, I'm thinking of going back to work later.
Oh, no, you're not.
Well, I'm going back in the morning anyway. What's all this you've been spending your money on?
Well, I thought you'd take a dose going to bed. It's supposed to be very good.
Oh, so I should think at that price. Oh, Glenda.
I was worried about you. The way Mrs. Hunter was carrying on.
Why, what's she been saying?
Well, not so much what she said. It's the way she came looking for me, looking very casual. It was very obvious she was very concerned about you.
Just a lot of fuss about nothing.
Was it, Mum?
Yes, it was. I haven't been getting me proper rest lately. I don't know why. And then I just woke up a bit earlier than usual. That's all. Then I had to listen to their chat about silver weddings, her and Paul Ross, and it just brought it all back, I think. You know, your dad and me, anniversaries, and just something to look forward to.
Mum, don't.
And then there was that account in the paper the other week about the trial, wasn't it? I mean, that was another thing.
Come on, eh? Sit down.
It's never ending, isn't it? Just when I think I'm getting over it, there's always something. I mean, I should be getting over it by now, shouldn't I? I mean, it's morbid to carry on like this.
You should have gone away for a couple of weeks. We all should. Over Christmas, somewhere different. Might have helped.
What, and coming back here to an empty house after the holiday? Oh, no. Bad as those dreams I had just after it happened. Oh, it used to be so real. Oh, I used to talk to him, you know. It was just as though nothing had changed. And I used to remember thinking in the dream, oh, I knew those policemen were wrong. I knew they'd made a mistake. It wasn't Arthur after all. It was so real.
You're not on your own, Mum. You've got Ron and me and Kevin.
Oh, only for a while, though, eh? I mean, I can't build the rest of my life around you. It wouldn't be fair. I mean, you'll move on, won't you? You'll have your friends. And go on. What am I going to do? I'm frightened, that's what it is. Without your father, I don't know where I'm going.